Okay, well, welcome. What I want to talk to you today is thinking about assets, okay? Because we all have them and we all need to protect them. So what I've got is just a little handout to get you thinking. So if you could just sort of take one and pass it along, that would be great. Because we always talk about what footprints we leave on the earth, okay, and whether those footprints have an impact. Now, what I'd like you to do is you'll notice that there's actually 2 feet there, hopefully. So what will happen is, on one of those feet, I just want you to write down what assets you would like to protect, okay? So what assets in your life, so it could be your car, your house, your super, your husband. Depends, you might be putting him in the not protected list, endangered species list. Alright, I'll just give you 30 seconds to jot down about 5 assets. Because when we're thinking about building a business, what we're actually doing is we're building an asset, okay? And most of the time that asset we want to protect, either for ourselves in our retirement, or we want to protect so that we can pass it on to children and that they will actually have a family business to inherit. So most of you probably on here, who put house? Yeah, car, super, children, pets. How many of you put your website? It's an asset? Yeah, it's an asset, okay? There's 680 websites every 60 seconds being built in the world, okay? Digital assets are now just as important. So what I'd like you to do is on the other foot is actually think about your digital assets. Think about what you have that would need to be protected or passed on to somebody else. Okay? Because nowadays, that's a big part of actually protecting your business. And it's probably a little bit harder to think of those digital assets, but your emails, your Facebook account, your Instagram account, your website, okay, all need to be protected. And they also now need to be included in either your power of attorney or your will. So, what's a power of attorney? Anybody got any ideas? Because these are words that are often used, okay?
That's allowing somebody to make a decision for me.
Well, it is, but it's only allowing them to make financial decisions, or if you direct them, decisions in relation to your digital assets. Okay? So you actually now need to include in your power of attorney things like your website, all of your digital media, because that allows somebody we're not just talking about access now to your bank accounts, we're talking about access to your emails, access to your web hosting, which also now need to be included. They also need to be included in your will, okay? We now have something called a digital executor, okay? So what we have in a will is an executor. The role of the executor is to gather all the assets in, okay, that you have willed, and to then direct how they're going to be distributed. But you also need to give them power to deal with your digital assets. So that includes such things as your Facebook, as your Instagram account. So do you want a memorial page on your Facebook account? Don't laugh, I've got 2 clients arguing over which family member gets to run the memorial page because it's not included in the will and the executor doesn't have that specific power in the will. Okay? So when we're talking about your wills, there now needs to be that digital executor appointed. Now, the other two terms that are generally used in a will are a trustee. All right? A trustee is somebody you give your assets to look after for the benefit of somebody else. Okay? So if you have children or grandchildren, you may not wish them to inherit their entire sum of money. Okay? You might think all they'll do is go and buy the Ferrari, when they should be really spending it on their education. So you can appoint a trustee, and a trustee can manage those assets on their behalf. The other term that's generally used when we're talking about wills is a guardian. Now, a guardian in a will is who you give your children to. Please don't give them to me, otherwise my family would be ever growing. But you do need to consider, particularly if you have children under the age of about 16, who is going to look after those children? Who's going to make those decisions? So a guardian is different to a trustee. You can actually have different people appointed. So you might want your brother-in-law, who's the whiz-bang CPA accountant, to look after their money, and you might want your sister, who's aligned with your parenting attitudes, to look after the children. I would suggest, however, that you do discuss this with them beforehand, because it can be an awful shock when, you know, two kids arrive on their doorstep. And it has happened. Yeah, that people have not actually discussed who the guardian and executor is. I would also suggest, if you do have a will, that you actually bring it out each year and make sure that the people that you have appointed are A, still alive, because that has also happened, or B, are still suitable. Okay, if you have appointed your sister and she's now moved to the Sahara Desert, you may now not think it's appropriate that the two children you have go with her. So when you're looking at protecting your assets, a power of attorney protects the financial while you're here. An enduring power of attorney protects even after you are mentally incapable of making decisions. Okay? But you must make these documents before you are incapable of making those decisions. Okay? Now, and they, power of attorney, look after your financials. You can then also appoint an enduring guardian. An enduring guardian isn't about money. An enduring guardian is about your health, lifestyle, what medication, what decisions can be made in relation to medical procedures on your behalf. So you actually need, in a sense, both of those documents to protect the lifestyle that you now like. And then finally you need a will, and that will needs to include now your digital assets just as much as your tangible assets, in a sense. Remember, businesses now run online more so than anywhere else, so you do need to think about protecting that. What we have is we have a lifestyle review package. So what we do is we actually review all these documents with you and then determine what are the best options for you. So are there any questions?
Protecting digital assets. A lot of the assets don't own digitally, so you can't.
Well, you're licensed. So you're, in terms of iBooks, your iTunes, your eBooks, you actually can't will those to anybody because you don't have an ownership of them. But in terms of with your business will have that domain name, so websites are certainly included.
Websites are, say for example, your Facebook page is your Google Plus.
Well, your Facebook page, the problem is you need a method by which people can deal with it when you're not here. It's not so much in terms of ownership, but Facebook, up until recently, was exceptionally difficult to deal with to close down a Facebook account. The other thing that you actually need to remember is even if your account is wiped, for want of a better word, or erased, there is still a copy of it somewhere. Okay, because you don't have that full power to take down something, because Facebook technically owns it. But in terms of being able to deal with those assets, you still need give somebody the power, because they won't deal with somebody who does not have a power of attorney now.
So one of the other things though is that depending on how you've set the business up and the structure of it, some of those things, the website might be owned by a company.
Yep, and you need a power of attorney for the company.
Yeah.
Okay, because again, most of us, if we're setting up companies, aren't setting up, publicly listed, we're single director shareholders. So if we're in a coma, who is going to look after the company? So you actually need to think about appointing, the company, as a natural person, appointing a power of attorney to look after things if you are incapable. Because a company is a natural person.
It's different to a successor.
That's completely different to succession planning. This would be if you are hit by a bus and in hospital for 6 months, who is going to be able to talk to the bank, to Telstra, to website, so who can act on behalf of the company if you're unable to. Because remember, you're the only director shareholder. So you do need a power of attorney also for the company. And it's very simple to set up. You talk to yourself, you have a meeting with yourself, because that's what most of us are, and most of the time you'd probably be appointing the accountant.
What happens if you can't agree with yourself?
If you can't agree with yourself, probably have a scotch, think about it, and see if the other person comes round. Or if you decide to have a bit of a punch up with yourself, give me a call, I'll act for one of you.
Who's going to act the other one?
Whoever's got access to the bank account, I'm acting for. Okay, I think my time's up. So thank you very much.